Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Minnesota Homestead. Today I'm going to take you through a process of making a great and delicious snack out of some typically unconventional foraged foods. I am wanting to show you how to make fritters out of red clover and dandelion. These guys are definitely not something you would typically consider when prepping for your next meal or snack, but I really want to encourage you to start thinking outside of the box when you're thinking about the things to fill your plate and your belly. Red clover is an incredibly healthful food. It packs a power punch of magnesium and calcium, has your A, B, and C vitamins, and does just a lot of other great stuff for your system. And dandelion is also amazing. It is not a weed. Get that term off your tongue. One of the great things about the dandelion flower, and by the way, the entire dandelion is edible from the flower all the way down to the roots. One of the great things about the flower is why you'll see honeybees and other bees all over it is the amount of pollen it contains. Pollen is incredibly healthy. It's got a lot of proteins, amino acids, and things like that in it. So it's really, really good for your system. I also like to eat these instead of doing something like going to a health food store and buying pollen. As a beekeeper, I have some issues with the harvesting process for pollen. A lot of times there's a little brush that's used, it's placed in the entrance of the hive, and then as bees fly into the hive with pollen, it is supposed to just knock the pollen off of their legs into a little catcher. It can take off their legs. The pollen doesn't always fall off. So not only is it taking the honeybees' hard work of bringing the pollen in, I know that's an odd phrase since I take their honey, but they don't make excess pollen. They're bringing in their hard-earned pollen, and not only are you taking that from them, you may also be hurting them to the point that they are going to die. So if you're searching for a pollen supplement, dandelion heads, it's great. So back on over to the kitchen area here. This burner is not on. So what I have here is just a slight dough. It's flour, egg, cinnamon, a little bit of raw honey. The raw honey aspect is kind of, the benefits of raw honey kind of go out the window here. Honey's raw properties are only beneficial if the honey is raw, and that's typically not heated to above 100, 110 degrees. I'm going to be frying these in oil, and that is going to be at too high of a temperature for the raw honey to maintain all of its great raw properties. However, all of the honey we have is from our hive and therefore raw and very tasty. So I use that here. So I just talked you through all of the wonderful health benefits of these, and I now explain that I am going to be popping these in a pan with oil. That does, of course, counterbalance some of the health, but they're really tasty like this, and I can't help it. I really like it that way. So it's what we're going with. I'm just gonna dip everybody in their nice thick batter. Try and make sure I get it covered all the way around as my oil is heating up. I'm just using regular olive oil, and I have it about half an inch in my little cast iron over here. I have my clovers and dandelions completely covered in dough. I made it thick enough so that it's not running all of the way off, or at all, off of the flour. So it's just the dough for the most part that is getting in the oil. And they're not going to need all that long. They're definitely not going to need more than 30 seconds on each side, and probably not even necessarily that much. And oh, the cinnamon smells so good. Just have a piece of paper towel right here to soak up the extra grease, even though the grease is so good. And then I will take these guys out, let them drain for a moment. While I get the next batch in the batter. And here you have them, folks. Absolutely delicious red clover and dandelion fritters. They have a nice crisp on the outside. They're still nice and warm. And like I said, a little bit of cinnamon and honey in them. Wonderful flavoring. My favorite way to enjoy these is dipped in maple syrup. You could also put whipped cream, you could roll in powdered sugar, you could put some honey on them, but I love them in maple syrup, and I do have to say that this is the very best maple syrup. It was made by our neighbors. Hi, Michaela. This is so good. These truly are so tasty. I promise you, I am not telling you that to convince you to eat something weird and hippy-skippy. These are very delicious. They are so good for you, with the caveat that that's balanced up with the unhealthy process of making these. But overall, you are getting a really good health boost from these. I hope you enjoyed learning about how to make these fritters, and I hope it also encouraged you to get outside, check out the world around you, find something a little unconventional, such as a dandelion head, and find ways to enrich your health and your fun with all this kind of stuff. And we will see you next time out here at the Minnesota Homestead.